Well, you wild multiverse enthusiasts. It's your two favorite uncles back here for Cinefellas, and it's a happy Father's Day, and a happy Father's Day to everybody out there watching this. What a great day for me and this guy here. And
Happy Father's Day, you wild rascals.
thank you. Feels good. And we're doing what our favorite dad thing to do is talk about movies. And for all you guys out there, movies, TV shows, whatever's popping, a lot of stuff going on this summer. It's been a great year thus far, especially this summer, a lot of great blockbusters. But tonight we're going to be talking about one of our favorite companies, A24, and their film that came out not too long ago. And I'm talking about Everything Everywhere All at Once. Critics have been screaming about this. It's been a huge buzz going around, raving about it. Brand new film and the return of one of my favorite actors from the 80s, Ke Huy Quan, otherwise known as Data in Short Round from Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, returning after many, many years of not acting in a brand new film. And it was a really great time.
Yeah, one of these movies that kind of came out of nowhere, didn't have a lot of publicity leading up to it. Had heard a few of the guys, the other Cinefellas boys, talk about it, and watched the trailer, didn't really know what to expect, and heard it was about the multiverse, so after watching No Way Home, it piqued my interest, and I had to check it out. It being an A24 property, we figured it would be, a good watch, as A24, they always deliver. There's rarely a time when they don't deliver, and this one was no exception. Just a movie that is so out there and crazy and wild and what it's trying to do. It's, it feels like a movie kind of like, when The Matrix came out at first, when you see a bunch of stuff on screen that you've never seen before done. And that is what is done in this film from Daniels. These two directors known as Daniels, they come in and they're directing, Michelle Yeoh here playing Evelyn. And like you mentioned, we see old Wayman, played by Ke Huy Quan, and he's back. We haven't seen him in many years, and it looks, he did an excellent job. It looks like he hasn't even missed a beat.
Yeah, he could really fight. I was very surprised by this. I guess he's like trained in martial arts and stuff like that, and he's done some producing, some of the work behind the camera. I mean, he pretty much looks the same. His voice is exactly the same. It's like he never hit puberty. I still got the same, youthful voice to him. But them playing Evelyn and Wayman, they own this laundromat. The laundromat, they had the family, they have a young daughter, and then the father lives with them, and that was played by James Hong, who, famous actor, has been in a ton of movies. But their young daughter, Joy, is pretty much gay, and Evelyn doesn't want to accept that, and they throw in the story of this person that's doing an audit on their company, on their laundromat, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, which is really random. I was wondering how they got her on board with this movie. Right. Kind of out of her comfort zone, but a unique performance, and she was really great in this. Going in to audit their laundromat, Evelyn going into these different universes, different characters, and it really sets up a mind trip of a movie.
Yeah, it's all about Evelyn, played by Michelle Yeoh, and one of her best performances ever. That you'll rarely see a film of hers that's she puts into this much work in. She gets to portray herself in all these different timelines in the multiverse here, all different iterations of herself. And, it's very much a story about her and her family and, struggling to, kind of stay afloat. Her daughter's moving on to college. Her and her husband don't get along as much as they used to. They're kind of struggling to pay the bills. Like you mentioned, Jamie Lee Curtis is Deidre, coming after them, auditing them for their taxes. They haven't been able to keep up on the taxes. And then they just take you on this wild journey throughout the multiverse, where we see Evelyn, as a movie star at one point, and she goes to basically this award show. We see her, in another life, she was this big star, but in the reality where it starts out with, they're, a struggling poor family trying to keep this laundromat going. And, it's very much an introspective look on her family life, and like, how she can kind of break the spell of how things have been going with their family, and kind of, it really comes full circle by the end. But it's just a mind trip in itself. Just all these awesome fight sequences out of nowhere, like just crazy stuff happening. Jamie Lee Curtis has hot dog fingers, and they have hot dog fingers, and they're fighting. Just this wildness, just a crazy movie that's hard to explain. You really have to see this movie. But it sounds just crazy and hard to explain, but the way that it's shown up on the screen, it's easy to follow, and it's a simple story, but the way they tie everything together was, the Daniels did a good job directing this film.
Yeah, and apparently they directed Swiss Army Man, which I never saw, but I heard that movie was bonkers as well. So now after seeing this, I'm interested to check it out because I love Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano. Anyways, just never got around to it, but very interested. This movie's also very bonkers. You know, you could tell taking some love from the Marvel Universe, multiverse, What If, Doctor Strange, in a more independent way. I thought there's a lot of great, beautiful sequences in this movie, action scenes in like The Office of that guy behind me, Ki Hoi Kwan, really kicking some ass. And you could tell he did all his own stunts. Like you could tell they didn't cut anything. And this guy was really badass. Even though Evelyn was really great in this movie, the whole cast is really phenomenal. Some what if scenarios with Jamie Lee Curtis's character is pretty funny. With Evelyn's character in the different universes, she's like a singer, a chef, a movie star, and just sets up all these really crazy sequences that I didn't really expect, but was really well done. And this is not what I expected from this film. They kind of went about this a whole different approach, which I really loved. And I can see why everybody loved this. It's universally loved.
It's so unique. It's a film that you've never seen before. What they throw at you up on the screens, all this, visual imagery and the way that the fight sequences play out and, the interaction between the family and how as the film goes on and it gets crazier and crazier, how they start working together better and figuring things out. And by the end of the film, Evelyn has to figure out, how she's going to keep the family together. She kind of learns to appreciate the things that are going on and like how she's going to move forward back in the real world. And she like sees all these other, iterations of where her life could have been. But by the end of the film, she realizes what she has is, even better than, her wildest dreams, like even better than being a star, So it's a very much a story about, really appreciating what you have and kind of making the most of it because we get one life and that's all we're going to get to live. So there's no need on, wishing for something different. Just make the best out of what you got. That's kind of the message in this movie.
Wow, you got really deep there, Uncle Henry. But that's absolutely true. Money and fame doesn't bring you happiness, as we all know. The most miserable people I've ever met have been millionaires. It's not about money and great things in life. You're meant to be where you're meant to be, family, your job and the people around you that make it worth it, living life. So there's a lot of great themes here. Really well done. Not what I expected, like I said before. Blown away by this. Visually, it's just very mind-blowing the way they do all these action sequences in different universes, much like an A24 multiverse movie meets, Marvel. Great story, great themes here. A movie I highly recommend, a movie I'll probably end up buying. Honestly, I really had a great time with it. So that being said, I'm going to give Everything Everywhere All at Once a 4.5 out of 5 data hair pieces.
Yeah, man, I too just love this film. I want to go back and revisit it too. I'm going to look forward to Steelbook hopefully coming out in the future from Best Buy. I know it's coming out on 4K soon. So I'm going to keep my peepers peeled for this one. This one was just a mind trip and a movie that I want to revisit. I watched it once, but there's so much going on that it would take multiple viewings to kind of catch everything that's thrown at you in this film. But it's a blast from start to finish and very well done. I loved everybody's performances too. Michelle Yeoh's fantastic. Awesome to see Data back up on the screen after all these years. He didn't miss a beat, like I mentioned. And, he kind of reminded me of Jackie Chan in a couple of sequences where he was fighting there. He can move, he can fight, you can tell he's put in the training. Awesome to see James Hong back, from the 80s, a big villain back in the old 80s films. And there's a lot of 80s, this movie reminded me of a lot of the 80s action films back then too, like Big Trouble in Little China. There's the Daniels take a lot from the 80s movies. So you get just a visual spectacle here and a great story to tie everything together, and a movie that I want to revisit. And I think it's going to be a cult classic. It already kind of is. It's the highest grossing A24 movie of all time. And for that, I'm going to give Everything Everywhere All at Once a 4 out of 5 data hair pieces. Interested in hearing what you guys thought of Everything Everywhere All at Once. Was your mind blown like ours were? Did you love all the visual, fight sequences, all the crazy imagery, the mind trippiness of it all? And did you love all the performances like we did? Let us know in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Right there. Also, check out these boys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and our website, cinefellas.com, for the latest, greatest TV movie news and reviews.
That's right. And we're going to be back very soon with a lot more great content to come. These wild boys are going to be reviewing some other films and TV shows that are playing this summer. There's a lot of great, content coming out in these summer months, some big blockbusters, some great shows coming back. And the Cinefellas boys will be back very soon for another Cinefellas podcast because there's so much to talk about. We love these wild summer blockbuster months.
They have more than 5 barbers out of Brooklyn.
Yes, they do. And we got to go yap worse than 5 barbers back in the multiverse. So until the next Cinefellas review, I'm Uncle Henry.
And I'm Uncle Logan.
Cheers.